All right, there's two ways to bring pixel-based images into Illustrator. One is the open command, which we'll be looking at in this movie, and the other is the place command, which I'll show you in the next movie. So here I am looking at a scanned image inside Photoshop, by the way, just so we can inspect it. And I drew this cartoon just years and years and years ago using a rapidograph filled with black ink on a piece of white bond paper. So the original piece of artwork looks absolutely black against a white background. But I scanned it using a consumer-grade office scanner, so it's looking gray on gray. And if we were to inspect the image a little bit, you will see a few things wrong with it. Notice that we've got some gunk right here that must have been on the scanner glass. We've got color artifacting, these purple edges and green edges around the lines. And then if you scroll down here to the bottom, you'll see that we have a water stain. You can see the edge of the paper and so forth. But the good news is that Illustrator is capable of filtering out all this extra information so that we can hone in just on the line art. All right, so I'll go ahead and switch over to Illustrator. And because nothing's open, I'm seeing the start screen. I'm not a big fan of this screen, and if you aren't either and you want to turn it off, then you can press Control-K here on a PC or Command-K on the Mac to bring up the general pane of the Preferences dialog box, and then just go ahead and turn off this checkbox right there, Show Start Workspace when no documents are open, and click OK, and all that stuff will go away. All right, so method number one for getting the image into Illustrator is to go up to the File menu and then choose the Open command, or of course you have that keyboard shortcut of Control-O or Command-O on the Mac. And then I'll just go ahead and locate that scanned image and click the Open button in order to open it inside of a new illustration. Now notice the artboard is a little bit larger than the image itself. It could end up being smaller. It's just a function of the fact that this is an RGB image, and so Illustrator went ahead and put it inside of a default basic RGB document. If you want the artboard to be the same size as the image, then go ahead and click on it to select it. Make sure under the View menu that your Smart Guides are turned on. And then switch to the Artboard tool, which you can get by pressing Shift-O. And I'll go ahead and press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac to zoom out just a little bit. And I'll drag the upper left corner of the artboard until it snaps into alignment with the image. And then I'll do the same thing with the bottom left corner of the artboard. And then I'll press the Escape key in order to return control to the black arrow tool. All right, I'll also go ahead and press Control-0 or Command-0 on the Mac to zoom in. Now, notice the image is still selected, and Illustrator is identifying it over here on the far left side of the control panel as an image. And if you like, you can click on the word image to see the file name. You also have the file name listed right here, and notice it's telling me the entire path, so it's aware that at one time, this is the file that I placed inside the document. The thing is, there's no link between that file and this document as things stand now, and that's because Illustrator has gone ahead and embedded the image. The image is actually part of the document. And so, for example, if I was to switch back to Photoshop, go up to the Image menu, choose Image Rotation, and choose Flip Canvas Horizontal in order to flip the image horizontally like so, and I'll even go up to the File menu and overwrite the original file by choosing the Save command. Then, when I switch back over to Illustrator, nothing happens, and that's because there is no link to that file on disk. Again, what we have instead is an embedded image. If you wanted to unembed it, you can click on this Unembed button right there in order to save this image either as a layered PSD, which is a native Photoshop document, or as a TIFF image, either one. But that's going to go ahead and create a new version of this image and establish a link to that image file instead. That's not what I want to do, however, so I'll just go ahead and cancel out. All right, now, while this is an easy way to work, because it just requires the Open command, and it's a totally acceptable way to work, we could now trace this image by clicking on the Image Trace button up here in the control panel. The problem is Illustrator isn't terribly efficient at dealing with embedded images, and as a result, you get large files. So, for example, this file is going to weigh in at about 7 megabytes, which isn't horrible, but we can get a much smaller file, and we can create a link to the image file on disk using the Place command, and I'll show you how that works in the very next movie.